Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us again today for an additional live streaming here at the Grace Company studio. With me, we have
Karla Jerome. Welcome back, everybody.
Nathan welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm taking a little bit of a different position today than I have in the past, kind of on the side or in the back. So thanks for coming back. We're excited about spending probably just a little over a half hour with you today, and then kind of introducing you into one of our favorite segments of that, which was part of the panel. But we really just wanted to touch back base, tell you thanks, go through a couple key things that we really thought were some great highlights. So Karla, I know that was an exciting piece to be able to go through some highlights.
Yes, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, but very excited to be here today, not so busy.
So Karla, if I were to ask you, there were 4 major full days. Like that was pretty straining.
Yes,
right? It was. Felt it was pretty fun. Like when we were done, I felt accomplished. So that was really good. Would you say for you there was a favorite moment in the Fantastic Fall Festival?
I really enjoyed. I have a couple of them. I enjoyed the presentation of the quilts with my sister-in-law, Lori. That was very fun for me, and it was fun to have her here, be a part of us as a group. We don't get to see her very often, so it was very nice to have her here. And I also really enjoyed the panel. I didn't know how that was going to go over. I didn't know how, I would fit in. It was very kind of intimidating to be with Leah and Sue, but it was a lot of fun.
Good. I hear part of that, and I am glad. It was your idea when you had thought about inviting Lori to come and join us. I really thought that was a great idea to be able to bring back and invite, to partially our stage, Lori. Again, to your point, we don't have a chance to see her too often. I thought that was a really great idea, Karla, to be able to kind of have that thought as an inspiration, and then give us a little something more to give away, which I thought was really fun. Likewise, you mentioned that going through those quilts, I think that was pretty enjoyable. Yes. It was pretty amazing. I think our final number was just under 2,300 quilts that had been submitted.
It was absolutely amazing how many people decided to enter. It was so much fun. And if you haven't had a chance to go through them, make sure that you go through them and read about them, read the stories behind them. Actually, that's probably one of my favorite things, is the stories behind each quilt.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I myself have completed a couple quilts. I do think there are stories behind them. I thought that a lot of those stories, like I don't have any great story. Like, my man quilt that I made really just was a selfish purpose in me wanting to have something big with the family events when we're snuggling around a movie. But I do think it was really fun to read each and every one of those individual stories. Some had more stories than others. And so I think that was really great. In fact, maybe let me go ahead and just bring on screen here so everybody can see this. I'm just going to bring this up. What I wanted to show everybody as I kind of scoot us over here to the side is with this is still available. And I'm going to go into the section that says the event, the quilt show. It's live still. And what we've done is we have actually, Karla, just put in here the key winners for each area. So this is something that if you weren't sure who the winners were, again, there was a first, second, and third prize. And then I also had them just quickly upload something else. We had a general random drawing as well. So I thought maybe we could quickly review those just high level, which was pretty fun. We did this on a Friday of last week, like you said, with Lori, when we had and gave part of those awards away. So again, if I were to kind of bring this back out, we're going to go ahead and we'll go through some of that today. I thought, Karla, one of the other things that you mentioned is, do people understand or know some of the importance that our dealers play? So I thought maybe we could look at showing them a little bit on how to get to a dealer. And then really, I wanted to show and share that we still have some wonderful promotions, and we've had some tremendous success with what we saw and what we had last month and through the Fantastic Fall Festival. We've extended some of those. So I thought we could just briefly touch on that. Okay. In between this, I thought we would also just recognize a couple key winners. Like we had the big giveaway, so I thought I would show people that. But are you okay if that's what we kind of do?
Oh yeah, let's go for it.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and dive into the quilts. I'll bring this back on screen again. It's going to make Karla and myself a little bit smaller here. We're going to kind of move this, but just really quickly as we look at this, I'm going to pop into the Hall of Shame and just show us a couple key winners. What we have is there's going to be 3 in here. The one on the left Karla was the Founders Award.
Right. What's Lori's award?
I don't know if you could just share a little bit about what Lori had said. Again, I'm trying to remember some of the things that made this stand out to her.
Well, she said her granddaughter gravitated towards this quilt, as well as so did she. It was one of the quilts that, as she was looking at all the beautiful quilts that were submitted, that this one really stood out to her. And that was part of the reason. She loved the colors. She loved the story behind the quilt. And she also just thought there was so much work involved with it. And that's really one of the reasons that she, decided to choose this quilt here. Wonderful. And when she was talking to me about it, she goes, Karla, what do you think? And I said, Lori, it's not what I think. This is totally all about you and what you want. So she truly did put a lot of thought and a lot of care, and she chose a beautiful quilt.
I'm going to go ahead and bring that back up here. With part of what that was, I think that those were some wonderful comments to state on that. I'm going to show everybody. So this is the Founders Award. Again, this one did receive a $500 award, and the winner of this was Kristen Smith. So I just wanted to show everybody again. With that, these are the other winners. So we had a first place, a second place, and a third place. Now remember, these were selected by the individuals who had a chance to go in and view part of and view part of the quilt show as a whole, Karla. Right. And so again, the audience had a chance. They could invite others to come in and participate with it. So again, I'm going to encourage you to go in. One thing that I thought was really fun too, and I'm going to bring this back up here, is that we have the badges for the first, the second, and the third prizes. And again, I don't think we're going to go through each one of these categories, but I just thought I would show everybody. It's a great chance. If you have a few minutes, go ahead, dive back in. And I'm going to go into this next category because we also had a secondary different type of winner who's in this category that I'll show you. But again, we have the first place, the second place, and the third place. People might ask and wonder, what is this one here? I'm going to bring this up. And this one is Laura Siegelin, is I guess how I would say her name. This was one of the random drawers. Right. And so, Karla, this is one where we had a chance. We just said, hey, anybody who can participate, right, put a quilt in. Yeah. And I know that encouraged several people to put them in. That's why we had so many people participate with that. And then we would just randomly draw a winner. This is the winner of that $500 cash prize. So yeah, I thought I'd say congratulations again.
That was awesome.
That was wonderful to have. And so that's why you're seeing not a first, a second, or a third prize in here. But I thought we would just quickly add those back in for this event so that we can kind of talk a little bit about some of these key winners there. Let me go ahead and just bring that back up on screen again. So here we go. And this is that winner. And this is her quilt that we have. And this is the one that was the random winner. So thank you for submitting your quilt, Laura. And that was awesome. And then congratulations on that win. And then I'll just kind of pop back out here and let everybody see in general this category, the first, the second, and the third place. And again, we would encourage you even on these to go through and once you go into them, just read their story. It's fun. This one has to do with, the glasses because there's a friend and the grandson who was an optometrist. So this was a fun one to talk a little bit about part of that and to read some of the comments on there. So again, just encouraging everybody to go spend a few minutes since now we've kind of filtered them. So we weren't in such a spot before, Karla, where you had to browse 2,200 quilts. And so how did you know which one was on top, which one was not? So again, that should be fun for everybody to dive back into. With that, Karla, I thought maybe what we can do also is talk a little bit about some of the different things we gave away. Oh, yeah. And why you like that. And maybe we can talk. We gave away some True Cut products.
Oh, a lot of True Cut products. So
here, I'll have you introduce her. There you go. We gave that one away often. Yeah, so often. That's one of our key items in that True Cut line.
Yes, it's our electric sharpener. And if you're wondering if it works, it really does work. And it just hones in on the blade. You get diamond stones rather than ceramic stones. You get two of them, one that you place on the top, one that's placed on the bottom, and it will, sharpen both sides at once. And you have the little tweezers. I mean, it's just an awesome product and very proud of it.
Yeah, and so again, I'm gonna go back and bring up my screen here so that we can all see this. We gave away several winners. So clear back on October 20th. That's been some time, and time has been going by so fast. Like, it has. We're already in part of the third quarter, and we're continuing to push through on this. But that was one of the items we gave away. The True Sharp 2. We gave away actually on one of these. The Master Cutting Collection
Oh,
was
wow.
one,
That was a huge price.
which I think we had somebody here buy that recently. I want to say it was over $450 of True Cut, which included all the different products. A hoop frame, which is one of our most popular items. So that was really fun. We've given away light bars. We've given away all sorts of things.
Machines
and then let's go ahead, Karla. Let me look into a couple questions. I know we have a couple comments. Again, welcome everybody. Welcome from North Carolina. We have Nell Summerlin there, Judy Johnson from Louisiana. Several different people joining in. So thanks for those who are joining in with us again today. We appreciate those. We're going to go ahead and let me see if there's anything from Australia. Thank you. Hello, Roswitha from Australia. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. It's early morning, I believe, over there. Kristen, just thanks so much again for choosing the quilt. So thank you, Kristen. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations again. Kristen. That was a good random, and I think that's the one that Lori chose. So again, we just appreciate you submitting your quilt. That was a lot of fun. And again, we're grateful and glad that you had a chance to submit and to win with part of that. Indiana, welcome from Indiana. We have Janice Thomas with us from Indiana. We're not doing any live giveaways today necessarily. No. Again, we're gonna keep this fairly short. I want to spend probably about another 10 or 15 minutes looking at a couple things, and then really we're going to kind of lead into part of the panel, which was, by the way, and I know, Karla, we finished this, and let me kind of bring this back up for a minute. I know, Karla, you're kind of giggling. The panel. I know. In talking with Karla when she's done, she's like, yeah, I don't know, did that go okay? And I love that. I so love that. I thought it was so good. I thought there was such diversity in who was there on that panel. We had Sue Pelland, we had Leah Dane, we had Karla Jerome. And I just think there was such a diversity in their backgrounds and who their key audiences were. So I thought it was wonderful. So I was super excited. And so Karla was wondering, how good did it go? Was it not? I just telling you again, thank you so much. And I can't tell you enough. I always am making sure Karla is a part of this. And Karla's like, I don't know. It's another day. It's another stream. But everybody loves seeing you. Yeah. So thank you for being willing. Sweet. Thanks for being willing to be with us. So that's a lot of fun. So we've really enjoyed it. And again, we're going to tie into that here at the end. So I'm going to bring back up on my screen one more time, just and what I thought maybe we could do on this one, Bryant, we're going to take a little bit of a wider shot with our camera here in just a minute. But we also have this major giveaway. This was a big deal.
Oh, it was a big deal.
And maybe, Karla, let's go back to our studio here and see if we can kind of bring that into the picture with everybody. And again, this is kind of the frame you can see over there on the side. It's taking its place. In fact, it's
a 10-foot frame.
10-foot frame. I'm going to go and I'll maybe light this up just a second. We'll turn it off here in a minute, but we'll add the lighting to that. So it's a big frame. And that was a fun giveaway.
That was. It was fun.
What did they bring home? What was this?
All right, so they got the new Continuum 2 frame. They also received the wonderful light bar. They received a 19-inch Cunique machine, which awesome, and the automation. I mean, it was a huge gift, and something for every quilter's dream, actually. So it was really a nice giveaway.
I would love to say that one of the best things, and one thing that Karla, and you can kind of expound on this, as a business, our goal is not to push any particular key product. It's not, hey, this one's the one you should have. We really try to strive. And our brand, I kind of say, this is a kind of an odd word, it's modular, but really you can start with pieces or only part of that. And our goal is really what tool is best for you to start with. And so with that, this particular unit, it's nice that it has everything, but you don't have to use it all just to start. You can use just the machine and the frame to start with it, and then you can add that automation. Why is that such an important part of the Grace Company line, is to give people a chance to start where they're comfortable?
Because it's our grassroots. That's where we started. We saw a need out there for our customers, and that's where we come from. Is we find that need and we make the tool that allows you to do what you love so much. And that's really important to us, whether it's using your domestic machine on a frame to get it up off the floor and makes it easier for you to quilt, on up to a nice system with the automation. Everything has been thought through and thought up with you in mind. And that's really important to us. So with that, Karla, I just really appreciate those words. That is a true statement.
And so again, if I were to bring this back up online here so that we can kind of see this main package, this is what she won. One of the other things as we were to look through this, we gave away other pieces. We had a pro hoop frame. That hoop frame, which we'll dive into here just briefly for a second, lets you start with your domestic machine. So again, you're not needing to look at the $5, the $10, the $15, the $20,000 investment. You can start at something like that. Currently here in the US, we have a promotion where it's $889 on a general Q-Zone hoop frame, and the professional version's $1,189, $1,189. So very affordable, a great way to get started with part of that. I was going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to bring me back up online here, and I was going to just do another little kind of quasi pitch. And I'm going to say this because this is an exciting piece. This is part of our True Cut. This is our Quilters combo. So we spun the wheel often and gave people a chance to win. And we were doing the comfort cutters. We were doing true grips, rulers, thread, or finesse thread. And I'm just going to do a shout out if you haven't yet. And we're going to let you know, we're going to send an email out. We're updating the website for our True Cut so that people can better understand the experience they can get with this. And I had a chance to talk with the owner, Jim. It was really good. He called and he was very, very grateful for the participation and what's been going on with the business. And I love hearing that from him. But he said, Nathan, and I just wanted to share this. He said, Nathan, one thing you ought to show everybody is just not only how nice and how well our tools work, but you should show them how the current tools are causing some of that difficulty. And I thought that's a great idea. If you have your standard straight cutter, what are you missing out on? What does it mean with the ergonomics? What about our track and our guide? So I'm just going to encourage you to be looking forward to our new website launching. We're doing this big refresh on the True Cut product line in order to give you a chance to see how these tools literally, and I'm not just saying this, Karla, literally can change your experience with cutting.
They can.
And we have people who write in all the time. And I love some of the strongest stories that I hear are consumers who have not been able to quilt because they've had to have people cut for them.
Yes.
And they've had to cut because of their challenges, their physical, whether it's arthritis or a struggle with pain or the lack of mobility in their hand. And they are telling us, hey, we appreciate it. We're so glad to be able to go back to what we love most. And so True Cut key thing, and we always have this in the tagline, is easy, safe, and accurate. And it's not just that it is this tool, but it makes it literally easier for you to cut.
And safer
Makes
and more
it safer,
accurate.
improves your accuracy.
It does.
Right? And that is how we actually designed this. We went out and found out what were the biggest struggles, and we said, how do we solve those problems? So again, I'm just going to put that out as a shout out. Again, we gave several different items away. Again, if I bring this up, that fit into part of that True Cut line. So we had not only sharpeners, we ended up giving away a lot of rulers. We ended up giving away those master cutting collections. And so again, those of you who have questions, we're going to encourage you, just go visit our website. We have a lot of information on graceframe.com. And that graceframe.com can also lead you to that new True Cut website. And there are going to be some special promotions. In fact, right now, let me just hop over onto this for us, Karla. I'm going to kind of skip over here with everybody. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here pretty quickly. We currently have some coupon codes going on, and some of them are involved with a few of the different True Cut items, and it's the FFAD. So that's F as in Frank, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, D as in dog. For those in the US here that want to go and find this out, these are some of the different promotions that are on there, and there's a lot more. So I'm just going to encourage you to keep that up and take a look at it. I'm going to skip through Karla, and then maybe really quick, again, as we're kind of getting close to the time that I want to roll into this other video, but I'm going to go ahead and have you share with us a little bit about these two products that I have on the screen. And, and maybe I can preface this. So yesterday we had a walk-in customer, and they came in and they were like, now we do advertising. Well, let's first do this. Let's go to our dealers really quick, and then I'll come back to the experience yesterday. So maybe share a little bit on how or where somebody can go, and I'll pull this up as you're talking about getting with one of our dealers.
Well, Nathan's going to show you on the website that if you want to know if there's a dealer in your area, where to find the information on the dealers that may be in your area. It's not that hard, but it's something that we get asked very often. And we just want you to know how important our dealers are to us at the Grace Company. They are extremely important, and they're important to you as a customer because they're a source or a place that you can go for help, for knowledge about the products, and And we have always encouraged our customers to head to their nearest dealer. So just a shout out to all of our dealers. Thank you so much for all that you do. And we really appreciate it.
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up, Karla. So this is the dealer locator. If you go to the website up top, there's an option that says dealer. Now, if you are outside of the country, you're in Australia, Canada, Europe, Africa, Asia, South America, you can go ahead and find a local dealer and you can click on that country. Right now in the US, you can go in here and then you can enter your postal code. And then you can also filter, like if you're looking for TrueCut specifically, we have a chance to select TrueCut only. We also do our quilting machines. And so you can also filter for dealers that have those quilting machines. If not, it's going to be pulling up a dealer that might carry a generic offering of our potential products that we have out there too. So that's where you can find that at. And then really quickly, I was just going to go back, Karla, to mention what you were saying here. I'm going to go into this product and I was just going to have you then share a little bit. So I wanted to show that before we came in here, because the experience I had yesterday, and I'll go ahead and bring this back to our screen here. The experience I had yesterday is somebody came in and we do, like I said, advertising, and you can go find a local dealer, but they came in and said, hey, I saw something on Facebook. I did not realize that there was a frame that would allow me to use my domestic machine.
Yes.
And I think that's a pretty big deal.
It is a huge deal because you love your domestic machine. You know it. It's a part of you, and it's something that you're comfortable with. And that comfortable situation is really important to any quilter when they're starting or trying something new. That familiarity with that product. So it makes it easier for you to transition on the tabletop, which is so hard to quilt with. And the frame is a tool that allows you to quilt, and it makes it easy for you to glide your machine, your domestic machine, across your quilt and do your beautiful quilting. And that's what's so great about this frame is it's again, from our grassroots, seeing a need out there, and that's why these frames are now available to use with. And you don't have to go and buy a whole new system. You can upgrade to a longer arm quilting machine, so you could do it in increments as you can afford. So there's just so many great things about the products. And if you have questions, go to the website. You can see the size, you can see the carriage that the machine sits on. Or call. If you have questions, call. We're always here to answer and help you. We're not here to push, but we're here to answer the questions so you're informed.
Wonderful. Thanks, Karla. So I did bring that up on the screen so those that are with us, you can kind of see what she's talking about. We do have those two right now. You can find this at a local dealer. You can find this online. Right now, we have our standard Q-Zone hoop frame for $889. We are including the free light bar station with it. That's a premium. Just so you know, this value, Karla, is over about $1,950, so $1,950 and some change, and it's on sale for just under $900. So that's more than pretty much 50% off. The Pro Frame, people might ask the difference. We do have our professional track system, which is what we have on our premium frame called the Continuum. So it has this nice dual track on there. It also has the table. So if you're going to be working from the back with pantographs, and then the nice thing is it also has the included leader cloth. So this frame, for the difference of about $300 here, that $300 difference, you're getting an extra set of accessories that really build that frame out at another level. We are finding that a lot of people at that value are making that selection. But encourage you to go here. This is the frame. This is the site. There's a great video that Karla has. We talk about the freedom of motion that you get as part of this process.
Very important. Very important.
And why would that be important, Karla?
Because that motion is your design. And if you're not moving freely and you're finding it difficult to make your designs by pushing your fabric through, that carriage just eliminates the problems with your neck, your shoulders, and everything, and allows you just to glide across it. So it's so smooth and makes it an easy job of your quilting.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and we'll bring back up on the screen here as we were looking at that. I want to just go back here really briefly to part of the promotion and what's available out there, and encourage everybody to go ahead and click on this. take a look and walk through this. We have our 21 Pro. It's been super popular.
Wow. Very popular.
Our premium product that has a big 5-inch touchscreen. It's a very quick, fast machine. It's kind of at the top end. It's the bigger 21-inch space on the machine's throat. And we have two 21s. We have a Pro and a non-Pro, but they're on sale $7,999. That's for the 21. That does come with the free frame and a free light bar. And then the Pro version is $1,000 more. So that one is also coming with the free frame and the free light bar. We have our 19. Now, we did give away a 19 as part of the giveaway. We did include it on the bigger frame. This current promotion is if you buy the 19, you're getting the Q-Zone Hoop Frame Pro as a free frame, and then you can upgrade to that big professional series frame as well. And
that's a frame you can sit at as well as stand. So you can decide. Where on the big long one, you can stand at it or use a stool, but this one you can sit or stand. It's very nice.
It is great. That wasn't an option, a couple years back with everybody. And if you had back problems or if you struggled, and that was one of those things you've had as complications.
In a wheelchair or something like that.
Wasn't an opportunity.
Yeah.
I also would like to say, how do we sew today? When you're sewing, you sew sitting, right?
Yeah,
we're sitting at our table.
Sitting, and you're used to that. And so this just kind of brings that element right up close to you. It's not huge. It's not intimidating. It is a wonderful frame.
And with that, we have two of our key, most popular machines. We do have a manual speed machine. That one's on sale for $3,499 with the free frame as well. So you get the free Q-Zone hoop frame, or you can get the Queen roller frame. Now, I love to talk about it. If you're really looking for simplicity, this is the system, Karla. You can get started with the stitch regulated. What that means is it creates equal stitches regardless of how fast you move. And you can select that 15-inch machine that has the adjustable screen. So if you're up taller, you're down lower. Those nice ergonomic handles, those raised buttons, the frame is very simple. If you go with the hoop frame one, is you don't have to get rid of your dining room table. That's not a thing that you have to get rid of. You can just move your husband's recliner.
And you can sit at this one too. So the Q-Zone Queen.
And you got the Q-Zone Queen or the Q-Zone Hoop Frame are options. So for $4,499, you can get an entire combo. And you can get the Pro machine, which does have a touchscreen. If you have questions, we're going to encourage you to go to the website and take a look at those comparison charts so that you can see a little bit more. But one of the other really fun things here is I'm just going to quickly scoot down and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Is that you can also, one of the key questions I think people bring up, Karla, is, hey, even if I start with my domestic, am I going to be limited on my experience? And we're going to say you're not. And why not? Why are they not limited if they start with the hoop frame in their domestic? What else can they do as they move forward?
They can upgrade or, get a longer arm machine. You don't have to sell your frame and start all over. With the hoop frames, either one, you can upgrade to a longer arm. And what makes that possible is that arm in the front will extend out to allow you more quilting areas so you can use a longer arm machine. So you can upgrade to a 15-inch all the way to a 19-inch machine, and that's what fits on the frame. So, and you can also use the automation. So the automation is very fun, very exciting. So you can add that to it. So your experience is not even limited when you purchase the frame. It just can go on and on and on. So it's a wonderful little frame.
Okay, with that, Karla, I'm going to bring this back up on screen one more time just to show everybody. The automation is on sale too. If you already own a system, great. Look at accessorizing it. That makes it easy for you to add automation. And there are selected domestic machines that you can also have the automation on. What I love to talk about is if you have the automation, the same automation is the same one that runs the domestic, the 15s, the 19s, the 21, and the 21 Pro. You don't have to reinvest. So that's the same thing with the frame. If you buy the frame and you start with your domestic, I have another image I'll bring up here is that you can just expand that. The frame is adjustable. And really all of our frames, including the bigger roller frames, have this same adjustment so that when you're prepared, you can put the next level machine on there and build it up. And that was a lady who came in yesterday. She had saw this again. She was like, I just didn't realize there was something for me to use my domestic machine. It is going to solve fabric management. But then the story was with her is just so you know, when you get to a spot when you're ready for more, this same frame will continue to take you down the road. Whether it's with a 15, a 19, computer automation, You're not going to be limited, and it will continue to let you utilize your skills and go where you're looking to go. So I thought we just kind of end up with that, Karla. I'd like to go ahead, and again, what we're going to move into is we're going to move into this panel that we had where you had a chance to participate. You had a chance to be on there with Leah Day and Sue Pelland. And I thought that was a great experience, which they're going to have now. Do you have anything you would like to share with our audience? I know there were some things we want to talk about coming up next Tuesday and the following Tuesday.
Yeah, so stay tuned. And no, it just was a really good experience. And like I said, on the panel is that the opportunity for me to meet and, talk with these two wonderful ladies, and their experience was just an awesome experience for me. And I hope that we can all learn from them and all grow and do our own thing, because that's what I love about quilting, is no one quilter is the same. We're each striving to do what we love and creating a new path for generations to come. And that's what's exciting.
Wonderful. Karla, thank you very much. I thought maybe I'll just check here really quick to see if we have some other questions we can answer before we go to that other video that we're going to stream here. Karla, it looks like there's an individual here that says, eager to get a frame and automation, then learn how to use them for future income, which I think is a potential, right?
Yes.
It says, really appreciate the True Sharp you awarded me. So it looks like we had a winner of the True Sharp. So that was congratulations. Have been using them on some of their old blades, which is one of those key things. So with that, again, we're just going to encourage you, if you do have questions, feel free to give us a call. We also have a chat option on our website. You can go to a dealer. You can also email us. And those are all options that we would have in order to connect. Next week, we're going to come back, and I would like to look at some additional education. We haven't fully defined this because it's been so busy with what we have. We are going to continue to do some short streaming events on Tuesdays that are a clip that you can kind of come back to refresh, and hopefully you're going to get some inspiration. We're really excited about what that's going to look like. So we will be coming live to you again next Tuesday, on the following week Tuesday, and kind of every Tuesday throughout the end of this year. We're also looking to say, how do we build on what we did this year, and how do we do something in the spring? So we're excited to see what that looks like. So
yeah, excited. Join us.
So join us. So thanks again, Nathan here with the Grace Company, and
Karla.
So we welcome, again, appreciate you being with us, and we're excited about what you get to see as we move into the panel video that was one of my favorite segments of the entire festival. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.
We are going to welcome in Sue Pelland. Welcome, Sue.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. We're excited. We're going to talk a little bit more here and give each one in. We also have here joining us today is Leah Day.
Hey, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Feel like the Brady Bunch here.
Yeah. Maybe. That's okay. Pretty exciting with what we've got going on here. With this, Mark, you're more than welcome to stay and hang out. We're going to probably spend about an hour here and digging into Karla, Leah, and Sue's kind of personal lives. So we're excited to start with part of that. So welcome. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful opportunity. I'm excited about this. I might put you on the spot with a couple questions, and maybe not. What we're going to do is we're going to offer this out there also for all of our live streaming audience today. If you have a couple questions as they kind of move through, we're looking at integrating some of the live audience here and some of their questions along with some questions that we have here that we thought would be of value for our audience to hear as well. So just so everybody knows, it's kind of where we're going with this one. And it's a pretty exciting one. And thanks again for all those who are joining us. So again, I'm just going to put this out there. If you're viewing and watching, in front of us again, we have Karla Jerome up there on our top left. Down below her, we have Leah Dan. On the bottom right, we have Sue Pelland, all with very different backgrounds and different experiences. And so what we're going to look to do is ask some questions between the three of them to get some insights. And again, what we'd like to ask is those that are streaming and viewing with us, please put your comments and put your questions out there. We're going to see if we can get to some of those along with some of the questions that we have here that we're going to be asking them. So we're excited to hear all those. And I have someone right here saying her name is Pelland.
Pelland.
Pelland. Sorry, thank you, Pelland. Pelland. So that's a correction for me. I've always just called you Sue Pelland. I don't know. Thanks for sharing that. That's good to know now. So Pelland.
I don't know why. I was always throwing the A in there, even though there's not. So, and then Leah, did I mess your name up, Leah? We good to go?
No.
No. Okay. That's an easy one. And then Karla, we've got Karla's down.
We got me.
With that, I'm going to go ahead and just start one of our first questions that I'd like to go ahead and throw out to the group as a whole. And I'm going to kind of probably take this, and I thought maybe I'll direct this one to Sue, you first. Well, I'm trying to decide because I'm not sure if everybody knows everybody on this panel. And this, well, let's just do this. And Sue, I would like you to share with us just how did you get started quilting? Let's go ahead and have you share that with us.
That's a great question. I started quilting when I was 12 years old. And my mom and I went to a community education course at our local high school. And so many of my followers started the same way. It's a great way to learn. But what was really fun is we went to this community education course, and the teacher didn't know what she was doing. She had us making a sampler quilt, and we had a little 3-inch bow tie block, and we had a great big applique sunflower block that was about 20 inches. And she sent us off with all of these blocks made and said, now just put them all together and you've got your quilt. You're just going to hand quilt that and you'll be done. So she gave us a great introduction to quilting. We were really hooked, but we really had no idea what we were doing. So my mom and I went to the local library. We took out a couple of books on quilting. We taught ourselves how to quilt. And then a year later, we opened up our own quilt shop. And that's how I got started quilting.
Wonderful. Pretty interesting beginning process there. With that, maybe I can ask this question to Leah. As part of a getting started process, how long have you been quilting, Leah?
I got started when I was 21. I wanted to quilt my whole life. And I got started when I was getting married to Josh, my husband and business partner. And so I have been quilting now for 15 years. And so I can always remember how long have I been married? And that's how long I've been quilting, which is really nice. Yeah, it's been a journey. And when I got started, of course, I started with all the wrong things. Tried to make a double wedding ring as my very first quilt, realized that was just absolutely not going to happen. And certainly not with dressmaker satins and like leftover material from my wedding dress and stuff like that. Just an epic fail. So I joined a guild, and access to the guild and speakers and teachers and lecturers and then monthly workshops is what got me into quilting and understanding all of those fine details. Because, you know, a quilt is so much more complicated than just sew some fabric together. And that's really where I was coming from mentally, because I had known how to sew. Getting into quilting, you realize that there's the cutting and then the piecing, and then if you get into applique, and then there's the layering and then quilting. So there's so many facets to it. And joining that guild was really the key. And that got me into it, started making quilts, and it's here and going strong 15 years later.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you kind of answered some of those things that potentially were some of the struggles. And then Sue, I know you mentioned that, but Karla, maybe you can share with us, what struggles did you face when you started learning quilting, and maybe what was the biggest struggle you had and encountered?
One of the things that you have to let go is that you're not going to be perfect right out of the gate. And I think a lot of us think, oh, we're going to start machine quilting or hand quilting and our stitches are going to be perfect and great and wonderful, or our piecing of our quilt's just going to be exact and awesome. And I think you have to let go of that perfection to learn. And then as time goes on, you start getting in the groove and understanding the processes of quilting, and you become better at what you're doing. So it's just letting go of that, being the perfectionist, allow yourself to make the mistakes and then learn from them and grow from them. And that's what I struggled with, is I wanted to be perfect right out of the gate, and I wasn't. And it gets a little frustrating if you don't allow yourself to just learn and to progress forward.
I really appreciate that, and thanks everybody for your comments on part of what this is. I'm curious. I'm going to reach out to the audience, and I know that we're probably not going to get back to a lot of these, but I just know right now, and hearing the differences between our different panelists, my questions would be to you. You know, what was one of your biggest struggles? Can you relate with one of our panelists? Did what Karla maybe mentioned right now? Did you have a hard time letting go of this need to feel like there needs to be this perfection? Curious to get what your comments might be in there, and feel free to share those on the side. I'm seeing right now several people coming back as part of this thing. Yes, that was part of it. You know, another individual talking about what that means as part of the mistakes they might make, and then looking at that you accept that as part of the character of what that quilt is. And I'm pretty sure everybody here on the panel would agree that that is part of one of those things that makes that an individual unique quilt to not only you or whoever you might give that to as a gift. So wonderful. Please continue to put your comments in there. We're going to love to see what we can do to share those. I'm going to bring back and move into another question I'd like to present. And as the panelists, I want you to kind of open your mind a little bit. This question, I think you might have a hard time with a specific answer, but I want you to kind of step back and think of what and who are you doing now? And if it's not what it is, it might be how you go about doing this. And the question is pertaining to what you would consider your style of quilting to be. And again, that's a loaded question because you might do multiples, but I'm curious to hear what you might respond back to me with an answer. So with this, I'm gonna go ahead and have you maybe share with us an answer on that. Again, what would you consider your quilting style to be?
Okay, so I hate to see that, Leah, that you've been quilting for such a short time, or you're so young. I feel like an old lady next to you because I've been quilting for over 40 years. So my tradition in quilting goes way back to real traditional quilts. There really was no modern quilt movement when I started quilting. So my foundation is in traditional quilts. But because I started quilting when I was just a preteen, I didn't want to take the time to do all of the handwork, the hand applique and hand quilting. That's how I started out. But I was an impatient teenager and I wanted to get things done quickly. So before, when I started quilting, we didn't have one of these. We cut everything out with scissors. Well, as soon as these wonderful new tools, new back then, were invented, and the rotary cutters and the rulers, well, I wanted everything to do with what's fast and what's fun in quilting. So where my mom handled all of our customers at the quilt shop that were hand quilters and hand appliqueurs, I went off and found faster, easier, more fun ways to do things as a typical teenager might do. So I went from real traditional background to bringing traditional quilts into a much more modern way of making those quilts. So you'll see a lot of tradition in my patterns, but what I do is I'm appliquing quilts and I'm cutting them all out with a rotary cutter. So that's what I bring to the quilting world, is a new way to applique that's faster and easier and more fun. And you can make these gorgeous traditional applique quilts in a modern, new, fun way. But I also go towards more modern things, more just geometric patterns. And all of these patterns are so easy to do. And my customers, my students, when I ask, do you love applique? It's kind of a tough subject because applique seems hard. So what I bring to the table is I bring a new, fast, and fun way to applique. So my style is more traditional, but I really do get into all types of different styles of quilts. The one thing that ties all of my quilts together are they are rotary cut applique quilts. So whether they're traditional, like the quilts that you see around me, or my more modern style quilts, they're all cut with a rotary cutter. They're all fused. They're all sewn on the sewing machine. And all of my quilts are machine quilted. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more of where I came from and what I do.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. With that, maybe one thing that I can quickly do as well is I'd like to put this, we've got so many viewers, and I know we're going to have more questions that we're probably not going to be able to answer. So maybe really quick. So I'm going to put this one on the screen. And then what I'd like to do with both you and Leah is also add a link so that they can know where they can come for additional questions and comments. So maybe I'm just going to quickly start here. This is one that I thought maybe you can just quickly answer. The question is, Sue, what is the name of the quilt with the purples and the blue flowers behind you is what they're asking.
Okay, so I'm thinking they mean this one. This one is My Magical Garden, and it is a block of the month that is still available on my website. And what I do is I record videos on how to use my rotary cutting tools. You'll see the beautiful Grace True Grips on the back of my tools. So I use my rotary cutting tools and that 28mm rotary cutter to cut out all of these applique shapes. So I teach that in the form of videos. So this is My Magical Garden, and it's a video course on my website.
I'm going to go ahead and put this up. So everybody that's with us now, please know that they can go to Sue, your website. So maybe you can share that verbally with us. What is that? I put that up on the screen.
Yep. To keep in touch with me, go to SuePellandDesigns.com. There you're going to see all different ways to learn about applique, and you can sign up for my newsletter, get a free pattern, and every month I do a free mini workshop. In fact, the free mini workshop is tonight for the month of November. So get on the website, sign up, and actually I think tonight's is closed, but you can get in on the free workshop next month.
With that, thank you very much, Sue. With that, Leah, how do people get in contact with you really quick? Because I know they're going to have a lot of questions as well on behalf of the things that you're doing and you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, so leahday.com is my website, and that's where I have products and workshops. I've been sharing online videos for 11 years now, and I shared on the Free Motion Quilting Project, but you can even link to there from leahday.com. So that's really where you're going to find all of the videos that I've shared, as well as all of the products that we carry now. And that includes Grace Company products too, since I am a dealer, and I absolutely love that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So what I'll look to do here as we go through it, I was going to look at pulling up your website so that I can, here we go. I'm going to pull up, we have Sue, we have yours here. Let me kind of bring that up with the audience so that everybody can kind of see this here briefly. This is where Sue's site is. And so we're going to encourage you to go through here. And then again, if you haven't had a chance, it sounds like she has events that you're doing, both live and recorded videos they can participate in. So make sure to go to her site, find what that is, and then sign up for those. And then we're going to bring up Leah Day here. And again, for those that might not have had a chance to visit Leah Day, you can go ahead and let's go to the leahday.com. So know that as we're going throughout this is the case. Now, Karla, I will also bring out, and we're going to share a little bit again from your perspective, is we do have, and I know there's been a lot of questions potentially also for Karla, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll just put ours here at the top, but you can always contact or call, and potentially if there are questions that you'd want to know, she might have some available. You can leave her a message, but outside of that, you also have our general website, which is graceframe.com, and that's www.graceframe.com to find some more information. And then you can always email info at graceframe.com as well in order to get in contact with her regarding some of the things that are going on with that. So I thought we'd share this. So again, sorry, I know that kind of broke part of our things, but I started seeing so many questions come through, and I thought it would be great to get that kind of out of the way here at the beginning. And we'll bring that back up as we go through this a little bit more. So Sue, we heard a lot about your style and what that meant, and it was very vast, and I think it's continued to evolve. You've looked at creating tools to help you with part of what you really have a passion for, so we really appreciate that. I want to kind of bring this out and throw this over to you, Leah. What has inspired what you might consider your style, or what is that?
Well, I have kind of a range. You know, when I got started quilting, I would grown up with quilts, and they were mostly traditional quilts. So really got started, 9-patch and a double wedding ring, and wanting to make those traditional quilts that I had recognized from childhood. So behind me, you can see this is Flower Festival. That is a very traditional quilt, traditionally pieced, and also Dresden plates. So I definitely kind of will do the traditional style, and that is especially what I found teaching wise. Whenever I became an online teacher, I found the most interest in traditional piecing, blocks that people recognize and remember the names for, that kind of thing. So that is really what I focused on teaching wise. My style, what I like to make for myself kind of to hang on the wall is very artistic, but I don't consider myself just an art quilter. So this is one of my goddess quilts. So it's a pregnant goddess. This is the last one I've made. I think this was last year. And I do a focus on very intense free motion quilting. And this was made with Dupioni silk and hand applique. So when I'm making something really special to hang on the wall, then, kind of pull out all the stops and play with some weird materials and weird techniques. And then I also have gotten into quilting with panels. So did a Dream Big quilt along, really enjoyed quilting the Dream Big panel, and now I'm designing my own. The panel back here is the one that we did together for Basket Weave with QCT. And the reason I've started getting into panels a lot in the last year is because it just takes so much time to prep fabric and cut and piece. And I've done so many piecing videos. I've been quilting along now for about the last 5 years that I reached a point where if I have to cut out one more block, I think I'm going to go crazy. So I'm really leaning more into panels now, where I can design something cool, design something that might even look like a traditional quilt, but so much easier because it's already all done, already pretty, and we can get straight to the quilting, which is really the thing that I focus on the most, where I feel like my teaching is the most necessary and needed. So I'm now moving into this style of mostly focusing on panels and getting away from even really doing any fabric preparation at all, other than just getting a top ready to put on my frame. And that being said, though, I'm also playing with some more sewing in a different way. This is a doll that I am working on. This is Mally, and this is a pattern that I'm working on right now. And not only the doll, but she has pants with real working pockets. And so I kind of geek out on this whole other tangent. Now that I have kind of stepped away from traditional quilt piecing, I'm now stepping into really kind of elaborate sewing. So, I kind of say everything is my style. I don't have anything in particular that I say is off limits or that is, that perfectly identifies as me. I kind of just do a little bit of everything, and I just allow that freedom to do whatever I feel like doing. And I really like that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, and those comments and those experiences. I'll just make this quick comment. One of my wife's biggest frustrations with her pants is that usually they don't have pockets. So true on the ladies' pants. Why, I don't know, but that's the case, and it's good to know that there's some working pockets on it. Karla, I'm going to ask you to share a little bit, and I know maybe this can be a question I'd like you to kind of think about. We kind of talked about, with Sue, part of what her style might be, or what the evolution of part of that was, and Leah, maybe part of some of the inspirations. Karla, where would you say you're at now regarding your style of quilting? What is that, and where are you at with your journey?
I just think I'm trying to constantly evolve with my quilting and constantly trying to, come up with new ideas. I loved both of their stories, Sue's and Leah's. I could totally relate with both of them. And where you're coming from, Sue, when you talked about the rotary cutter, when I started quilting, it didn't exist either. So it's like brought a big smile to my face that you just went rogue and found easier ways of doing things. I love to find easier ways of quilting and making it easier on me. And Leah, the part about the piecing, you get tired of the piecing. It just brings a smile to my face because I could so relate with that as well. And so I'm just trying to evolve as a quilter. And I appreciate every quilter out there, because no matter if you're a beginning quilter or a more advanced quilter, you're bringing something to the table. Everybody has something to offer, and that's just what makes quilting so much fun, is that we have all these different personalities, all these different types of quilters, and we're coming together because it's something that we love and we're passionate about. And so that's kind of my area. I just love to reach outside of myself and try something new.
Thank you very much. Just so everybody, the three panelists know, as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this, I just really want to say thanks to you three and the creativity. I think that because you in your minds know that there has been these different challenges, and then you have this inspiration and this creativity, it really is what helps, I believe, inspire the people that are out there. And I know that's a big part of what you're doing is this creative process. So I'm just going to just quickly say thanks, because I'm thinking in my mind, like, you know, and I know other individuals are doing this as well, but I appreciate you three being champions for what is, and I don't want to necessarily just even call it quilting, because I think quilting is expanding as to part of what that is as well, but it is part of this art and this experience that people have. And so again, I just wanted to say thanks really quick to you on that. With that, we're seeing several things coming through as well on the side with the comments for everybody and the things that are going up. I thought maybe I could kind of just put a few of these things really quick right now. This is one, Leah, based on your panel question, you know, talk about those. Several people were mentioning they're working on some panels and they're doing this, and obviously potentially it could be a domestic, but they're here with a long arm. I had one question I thought maybe I could pose really quick, Sue, to you, that came through, that was regarding your general style when it came to applique. And give me a minute here. They were asking about the type of stitching that you're using as far as finishing. So I'm hoping I can find it. Sorry if I'm moving here past it. Sue, maybe this is one right here. I'm going to put this one on here. This is one that they posed. And so maybe, Sue, you can kind of answer this one briefly for the audience. I'll read it to you. It says, Sue, when you machine stitch your applique on, do you use a straight stitch around the edge or a fancier stitch?
Deb, that's a great question. And the answer is all of the above. It really depends on the end use of the quilt and where it's going. If it's going into a competition, or it's for myself, if it's an heirloom quilt, or if it's just a quick project that I want to get finished really quickly and easily. So one of the methods that I use is quilting and applique at the same time with a straight stitch around the edges. And that's one of the reasons that I want to become a long arm quilter, and I'm not right now. I quilt on my domestic machine. So I do free motion applique through all 3 layers to get projects done quickly and still beautifully. When I want a really fancy stitch around the edge, you can use a feather stitch, you can use a buttonhole stitch, which is probably my favorite. A blanket or a buttonhole stitch is the same thing. I'm looking at a little sample I have in front of me. We have zigzag stitch, satin stitch. So I really go through all of the stitches on my sewing machine. I do use all of them, but quite honestly, my favorite is the buttonhole stitch, because I'm good at it. I can get that done really beautifully. And I love the way it finishes the edge of the applique, so that applique is not going to fray when you wash it. It's very, very durable. So the answer is all of the above. I love doing all different types of stitching, and I'm going to pick the stitch depending on the end use of the quilt. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it was a great answer. And I think that's just one of those things that continues to show the diversity that can come into part of what is a way to finish. I'm going to put this question in there, and I'm going to throw this one to you, Leah. This is going to be an interesting one. I can't find out where it was, but one of the questions that came up is they were mentioning that they're an older individual. Are you ever too old to begin quilting? And I'm going to throw that to the young one of the group. So Leah, what is your answer to that one?
No, I don't think that there's an age limit or being too young either. You know, I do demonstrations and stuff to, you know, show hand quilting, you know, in a pioneer setting. And a lot of times I'm trying to appeal to kids to say, you know, hey, you can get into this, you can do this too, just with a needle and thread, because that's obviously something that a kid might have access to. On the opposite side of it, you know, age. If you're feeling older, don't feel like that you can't do this. I think the biggest key is having the right mentality, and that is that you are up for the challenge and that you are open-minded and you have room to grow. I did a lecture for Grace Company at the very beginning of our Fall Fantastic with that topic, you know, just being open and ready to take on that challenge and ready to, you know, to do the troubleshooting that needs to happen. Sometimes your stitches are not going to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to have tension issues. Sometimes you didn't insert the needle right, and it's going to be a process to figure out, okay, what's going on? Why is the machine suddenly not liking me so much. And, you know, you just have to walk through those steps and not get frustrated. I think that's the biggest thing is sometimes, and, you know, just having taught free motion quilting for so long, I know from so many emails and so many comments from quilters that piecing is easy. You know, applique is easy. We're using the feed dogs. We're using the machine in a way it's designed to be used. And whenever that goes out the window, whenever we're pushing, you know, big bulky quilt through the machine, or we're on a frame and we're doing something very different and it feels unfamiliar, then that's scary, number one. And then also when things start going wrong, it can be very easy to just get so agitated and so frustrated to just say, oh, I can't do it. It's not for me. I'm going to, you know, ship all my quilts and have somebody else quilt them for me. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, you know, the right attitude to have is so important because it's going to determine whether you're successful or not. When I'm starting to feel agitated with my machine, you know, when something's going wrong, you know, I have to remind myself, okay, am I in the right frame of mind, or do I need to take a break and walk away from this? And I only come back when I'm in that right frame of mind to get back started again. Because oftentimes if I'm trying to, you know, do something when I'm mad, then I'm going to end up making more mistakes. I'm going to end up missing that guide on my machine and misthreading it. And this is true for whole machines and long arms, I got to say, guys, because this kind of thing happens. We get frustrated and things kind of start messing up no matter what. So I think mentality, focus, and then set your expectations in a realistic way. I think we oftentimes have this idea that we don't want to make a beginner looking quilt, even though we are beginners. And it's okay to make that first 9-patch quilt. It's okay to make that first rail fence quilt. That's why those patterns exist. They are very simplistic. They are very, very basic, and they will help you gain the skills that you need. And with every quilt that you piece, if you quilt it yourself, you'll keep those skills at the same level, and then you'll progress with one quilt at a time. And then pretty soon you're going to be making some pretty incredible, amazing quilts and quilting them yourself with some pretty incredible designs. So that's really where I think it's at. You just have to have, don't let your age be your limitation. Instead, look at it as, okay, well, I'm gonna have to work a little harder, but I'm ready to rise to that challenge.
Thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure if I were to look at all of our panelists, everybody wants to answer that, because I'm pretty sure everybody has their own 2 cents. Maybe what I'll do is briefly stating on that, let me kind of flip that question. And I do love one of the comments. Let me just kind of throw this up here. I think this is a good statement for everybody. I'm not too old. I started at 60 plus, learned to ride a Harley at 50 plus too, right? Age is not as an issue. I love that. Karla, however, let me bring this to you. Are you too young to start quilting?
No, I say start them out young. In fact, I feel like I love to see that younger generation embracing it. And we have some new young employees here, and I love to see their personality in everything we make and everything we do. And they bring a new perspective to quilting, which is young and fresh. And we want to expand the life of quilting for generations and generations. So yeah, if we can get them involved young, let's do it. So I say no, and teach them the stories about quilting. Let them experience it through your eyes, through stories, and appreciating those wonderful quilts of generations past and the quilts that you're making as grandmas and mothers, and sharing those stories. I think the stories are a real connection with so many people and kids of all ages. I mean, even us older people, we love a good story, and a good story about quilts is awesome, and it's engaging, and it helps them to appreciate the quilts even more. And so, yeah, start them out young and keep it going right up until you can't quilt any longer.
Thanks on that. Sue, I'm going to come and ask you a question that pertains kind of to the same balance here. And maybe I just ask, what would you share with the audience as a whole regarding experience in quilting, either from someone just beginning or maybe even somebody who is thinking that they want to be this with a period of time? age or skill, youth or not? What are your thoughts, again, maybe wrapping this up, this question up for everybody?
I love working with kids in quilting, and I've always volunteered at my schools, and we did some really fabulous projects with the kids in school using fusible applique. You can give kids a palette of fabrics and ask them to recreate a drawing, and they can take those fabrics. I've already fused them and gotten them ready. They can take those fabrics and cut out shapes and just play with those on a background and design their own picture. It's just like going to art class using any other medium of paint or charcoal pencils or colored pencils, but instead we're giving them their fabric as their medium. It takes all the fear out of working with fabric when you start them young. And I've always worked with Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts and different school groups. And we bring sewing machines into the school and we get them started while they're really young, and there is no fear. Boys and girls go crazy on those machines. They love putting the pedal to the metal and really having fun with the sewing too. So I've always started them young. I love to start them with applique because it's just cut and paste, and then they can use their machine. I teach them how to free motion quilt. We quilt right through. We do like postcards, so it's a nice stiff background, and we let them do the free motion quilting, stitching around the shapes, and it just comes naturally for them. It's just art. So we really have a great time starting our kids young. Now, as far as age, my mom's 84. I went to visit her this week. She's out in Texas. And while we were there, she shared with me her latest creations. Now, she's still quilting, hand applique. I love that. She's been quilting with me my whole life. So it is a really wonderful bond to have with our parents and our grandparents. And I'm hoping someday I'll have grandkids to sew with. But there is no age limit. Creativity is ageless, and everybody can do it, and everybody can learn at any stage of your life. I am a firm believer that if there's something that you want to do, you go for it and have fun with it.
Thank you again. I appreciate you helping everybody sharing your comments, our panelists with everybody else who's here participating. And again, thanks for those who are just joining us in the participation. Here's we're live streaming this. We have 3 wonderful panelists with us today. We have Karla Jerome, Leah Day, and Sue Pelland here with us, sharing their advice and their knowledge. Maybe I know if someone had just joined us, they might not have heard some of the comments that came from them, but I thought I'll bring up just a couple pieces that one kind of made me laugh, and there are a few things. So each one of you, as we were going through, there were several different comments that came through. Lee, I know there were a couple that came through regarding the frustration. They said, once told my husband, this is from Linda Yates, the first rule of Quilt Club is that you don't quilt mad. So, they're hearing you. In fact, right below that is another person that just mentioned, I just left my room because I've been a little frustrated.
Man, the both of you. So.
A lot of people talking about great advice. Again, they're just really, really appreciative of all the advice that everybody is presenting and sharing. So again, thanks for those who are participating, putting comments in. We're going to encourage you to continue to do so as we look through and share some more time with the panelists. Maybe I'd like to kind of just bring this back up. As we are talking with them, each one of them has a place for you to go to ask more questions, to see a little bit more about what they do. Let me bring this up from Sue. This would be her website. We'll just quickly put that in front of it. So maybe take a note of this. You can go ahead and view and go to her site here a little later. Sue, again, maybe just quickly share. I know that you do classes and a few other things. Maybe just share that with the audience one more time, what you had coming up or what they maybe could expect when they come to visit your site here briefly.
Absolutely. So my favorite thing in the world is to teach, and I love teaching applique. Applique is anyone can do it. You can start with applique, you can start with piecing, you can start with quilting. And I love what Leah said is if you make your own quilts from the beginning and follow it through the piecing, the applique, and the quilting, then everything stays together. You become good at every step of the way. So you can learn how to applique at SuePellandDesigns.com. There's a bunch of different ways to learn, but one of the ways is to join our membership, where we do classes for you. We do step-by-step instructions. We have a membership community where people can get together and applique together and talk about applique together on our Facebook group. So there's lots of different ways to learn. You're going to go to my website, SuePellandDesigns.com, sign up for my newsletter, because that's really the best way to keep in touch. And then I can tell you what's coming up. And I put out a newsletter once a week just to let you know what I've got going as far as classes, workshops, and programs where you can learn to applique. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that. I would love to have you all come over and stop being afraid of applique. It's so much fun.
Appreciate that, Sue. Thank you. What I'd like to do is, Leah, have and give you a chance here to share a little bit more regarding your website and what they can expect to experience when they come visit leahday.com.
So leahday.com is the hub of where I try and link everything up. I've been sharing videos for 11 years, and went from sharing daily videos on the 365 free motion quilting designs. That was what got me started, just focusing on new free motion quilting designs every day. And then went into quilt-alongs. We've done quilt-alongs for 5 years. And then now I am largely focusing on build videos for our frames, for our Grace Company frames. So like just this week, I shared a build video on how to upgrade a Q-Zone hoop frame to a Hoop Frame Pro. I took mine apart. I put in the new dual track back table and screwed in all the bolts and shared that video on YouTube. So you can find that linked up at leahday.com. And that's really where my focus is in now. I'm finding that the machines are constantly changing. The frames are constantly changing. In fact, actually, I am getting a Continuum 2, and that is coming hopefully next week. And I will start sharing the videos on building that and loading that and the whole 9 yards of that. And I just enjoy breaking that down from a quilter perspective and really, getting in those cameras angles and stuff like that. Having done this for 11 years, I know how to shoot video, and I spend a lot of time on editing just so it's really clear. And this is the reason why I do this, is because I find it inevitably that these questions come up via email. Like I get a question from a customer, like, hey, how do I attach my channel locks? How do I attach the sure stitch? And I shared a video on that 2 weeks ago. So I'm finding that this has been really, really helpful. I love it because it's more of a technical side of things, getting those parts and pieces all in the right place. I love that challenge. And then I also love being able to see, okay, well, here's the difference between this, and this is how it affects your quilting. And I'm kind of a gearhead anyway. So it's really kind of helped me with all of that, kind of tying all those things together. And really where my focus is moving is into the digitized quilting, the, either embroidery or into QCT, our computerized quilting systems. And I'm planning on adding that to my hoop frame very soon. So I love the gear side of things. And that's really where I see us growing and moving in the next coming years. And you can find all of those videos linked up at leahday.com.
Great. With that, Leah, I'm going to quickly here bring your side up too. I selected one of these screens. I know that, again, like Sue, there's a lot of educational opportunities for people to participate. And so here is part of Leah's. And I just kind of went to this one free motion quilting tutorial. And you mentioned one of the things that got you started was different styles of patterns and whatnot. And again, so much more on both their sites. Karla, maybe I can just ask you here quickly to maybe give a shout out about part of what you're experiencing and what you're trying to do on behalf of Grace Company as well, and what people can expect as they continue to come back and visit the Grace Frame site also.
Well, we've got a lot of catching up to do, Leah, as you well know. What I'm working on right now is the help files for the automation. I've been writing them since COVID, studiously in my office, trying to compile those, and they're coming along really well. So, yeah. That's been really fun and a challenge to me, and it's also helped me understand the automation and the frustrations and things that you're going to get it through my perspective as a quilter, and that's really important that the quilter's perspective comes out. And I'm not a professional or anything. I just know that I want the questions answered so I can understand them. And I want to teach so that you can understand the process and not only show you why it's supposed to work the way it is, but have you understand how it's supposed to work. Then I'm also working on classes and we're making videos. So, and we have a lot of new exciting products coming out. I do a lot of testing on the products to make sure that they're good to go. And so I just have a lot of work and so little time to get things done, but I love my job, and I hope that it comes across how much I love quilting and how much I love the company and how much I appreciate all the employees that work here and the talent that is out there with Sue and Leah. I just appreciate their talent and them being able to share with me their knowledge, and thank you.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Great.
I'm a huge fan of Leah's as well. I just wanted to point that out. When I didn't learn how to machine quilt until much later in life. About 10 years ago, I started, and I started with your videos, Leah, and that 365 patterns. So I'm looking at one right now of my very first quilts, and I tried different patterns on every section of that quilt, and you helped me do that. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks. Appreciate that. Again, thank you everybody for your, our panelists for your participation, and thanks for sharing some of that information. And I wanted to bring that up again so that they could have a reference to where to get a hold of you, where to find out more information, because I think we're going to go into this next section. I'm going to start to ask, and I think the big question that most people are going to want to find out is, again, I'm going to need more information, and so where to go. So that's why I wanted to kind of preface that before we move in and kind of shift phases here a little bit. What I want to talk about next are techniques. And I think there's a very big, vast difference between the individuals that we have here in our panelists and what that means from techniques. And so what I'd like to come back to, and I think what I want to pose here to Sue is, we'll pose a question to you, is what techniques do you use? And I'm going to kind of leave it pretty vague like that to see what you would like to share with our audience today.
Okay, so you already know that I love to do applique, but the technique that I use is rotary cut applique. So I use my tools to cut out the applique shapes, and I do that 4 layers of fabric at a time. Just like you're going to cut squares, rectangles, or triangles, you're going to be able to cut your applique shapes 4 layers at a time, and you're able to make 4, 8, 12, or even 16 shapes at once. So the speed at which you can cut your applique is just tremendous. Then I love the machine part. So I love stitching on the sewing machine. So cutting is the easy part. Designing with those cut pieces is so much fun, as you can see from the sampler quilts. They're repetitive shapes. They're the same shapes over and over again, but what you can make with those shapes is just amazing. So with my Leaves Galore tools, you can make 5 different shapes in 6 different sizes. With my Hearts and More tools, you're going to be able to make 9 additional applique shapes. So the technique is rotary cut applique using the tools. But my quilts don't necessarily look like applique quilts. So you're going to see the clamshell behind me. That is traditionally done with either curve piecing or English paper piecing, but I do that all with fusible applique. Then I have quilts like this one right here, which looks like a curved piece design. And I do orange peel quilts and all different styles of quilts, even a drunkard's path quilt, which is a traditional curved piece design. But this quilt is all done with fusible rotary cut applique. So there are so many different techniques that you can learn for applique. And it doesn't have to be this traditional type of thing that we're doing. The shapes that you can make with the Hearts and More, they're all of these different applique shapes. And these are just an example of what you can do. The Leaves Galore shapes are all of these different shapes. These are shapes that I use over and over and over again in my quilts. And the way that I make them is so easy. So somebody said in her comments, she would never call applique easy. Well, that's because I don't do applique in a traditional way. The techniques that I use are really different. They're really a little maybe hard to understand when you've never seen it before. But once you see how I do this applique and how I can cut out these leaf shapes, a dozen or 16 at a time, that's what makes it easy. There's no tricky tracing, cutting with scissors, making plastic templates, none of that. That's the hard part to applique and the hand stitching. This is all fast, fusible, fun. And then you really get to take your time doing the stitching, whether it's straight stitching the edges, zigzag stitching, buttonhole stitching the edges, whatever you like to do. And then you have this beautiful design that you can really focus in on the machine quilting. And I know a lot of you are machine quilters, so you can see some of the beautiful work that my machine quilters have done. Now, up until this point, I really haven't been quilting my own quilts, but that's something I'm really excited about getting into as well, because I want to take complete control over the design of my quilts. And I want to quilt them in a way that I think complements the applique. So I'm excited about joining all of you machine quilters. And that is what I see as the next phase or the next evolution of my style and the techniques that I'm going to bring together. So the technique that I specialize in is rotary cut applique. But I bring it in so many different ways, different types of quilts, different styles of quilts.
Thank you. Sue, one thing I thought about, and I'm just going to ask everybody that has more interest behind some of these. I loved a lot of those quilts that you presented, and I'm just thinking in my mind, if you have and would like to see more of those, I'm not sure if again, go ahead and go to Sue Pelland, her website to find out more. And I'm guessing you have classes and more information on a lot of that, but absolutely beautiful. I love the last statement you made that I thought that stood out was fun, fusible, and I
Fun,
want to say there
fast,
was,
and
what else did you
fusible.
say? There you go. I love that. Fun, fast, and fusible. So wonderful. Thank you very much. Leah, I'm going to bring a question to you, and then Karla, I'm going to have you kind of finish with the last question regarding techniques. But Leah, what I'd like to ask you is, do you have a favorite technique?
That's the hard thing. No, not really. Almost all of my artistic style quilts, every single one of them is different. So some of them I've quilted and then painted. Some of them I've appliqued. Some of them I machine applique. Some of them I hand applique. I guess, if you consider free motion quilting a technique, then I like free motion quilting. That would be a favorite. But I have gotten into ruler quilting, and I really, really like that. So I don't have a favorite, but there is one thing that I do all of my quilts. So I guess this would be a favorite. It's in my mind, though, more of a requirement. I pre-wash all of my fabric. So I put it in the washer. I wash it until it stops bleeding. So I use a lot of batiks, and they tend to bleed. So I put them in the washer. I wash it until it stops bleeding, put it in the dryer, and then I only starch and press my fabric when I'm about to use it. So I might leave fabric kind of wrinkly on the shelf for years, and then I pull it out, starch, press, and get it nice and super, super stiff, almost as stiff as paper, before I go to cut it out. And that is every single quilt that I piece, or applique. So it's not really a favorite because it's a pain in the butt, but it's how I make my quilts. So that's every single one of them. That's how I prep it up. So I guess that's my favorite.
And I appreciate you being fair. That's a really tough question for me to throw out, and I knew that would be the case, but I had to ask it. So thanks for taking that one. And again, I think everybody would fall into that position at some time, is that there's something you're learning and you're wanting to evolve and you're wanting to move, which is kind of where my next question goes for Karla, is what advice do you have for someone who wants to learn a new technique?
Oh, jump in and do it. Just try it. And if you don't succeed the first try it again. Maybe walk away and then come back with fresh eyes and try it again. However, try it. you don't know if you're going to like that technique or not unless you jump in and do it. Don't prejudge a technique until you have honestly tried it. It's not fair to the person who's come up with it, and it's not fair to you because you may really learn a way to do something easier and better. So try it and jump in with your heart and soul and give it a whirl. That's how you grow as a quilter, by trying new things, and reach inside yourself and try something a little harder every time. That's what I try to do, is challenge myself to one quilt a year. That's my challenge quilt. And I have a couple challenge quilts that aren't even finished yet. So I need to go back and finish them. But that's what I would say, is jump in and try something new all the time. That's how you grow, and that's how we learn.
Thank you very much, Karla. I think, as I'm hearing some of that, I think that's probably one thing that every one of our panelists would share is, you need to get started. And the thought that came to my mind is, here we have 3 wonderful examples of individuals that are resources to you as well. My mind goes to the different methods and the ways of learning today. I think we're in a spot that we didn't have 20 or 30 years ago, as far as the access to technology, the access to videos, the access to whether that's written or buying and purchasing part of these kits with these instructions. So our viewers that are out there, again, just encourage you to, again, come back and connect with Sue, connect with Leah, connect with Karla, and then I would encourage you to go find somebody to connect with out there too, if you're not quite sure where your next technique comes from or where your path might lead you. There's a lot of inspiration out there. So thank you, panelists, for answering those questions. I'm going to turn this a little bit in moving from part of the techniques or part of the process of quilting. Both, kind of all 3, Karla, you're involved in the Grace Company, Sue with your business, Leah with yours. This next question I have, I'd like to maybe bring this back to Sue on this one. Regarding a business, did you start off in thinking there was a business? Really, the question is what made you want to start the business side of this?
Oh, great question. So I was in business with my mom when I was just a young teenager. Through my high school and my college years, I worked in my mom's quilt shop and I taught there. So that was always a big part of my life growing up. Then I went to textile school. I became a textile chemist and I worked for Cranston Printworks Company, which was one of the oldest textile printers in the US. They are located close by to me. Unfortunately, all of their printing has now gone overseas. So I got married, had kids, and my job was no longer there for me to go back and work in the textile industry in an easy way, a close by location without having to move my whole family. So I was looking for something to come back to, and quilting. I was always quilting, even in the time that I was working for Cranston Print, I was always quilting. Well, I started experimenting more with fusible applique when my kids were little, and I just didn't have the time to do applique at that time. I had little kids running around and there just wasn't any time to do all of that handwork. So I switched to fusible applique when my kids were little. And when I wanted to make a quilt that had hundreds of leaves on it, I said, this is silly. I know I can cut these leaves with my rotary cutter because they're such gentle, easy curves. But there weren't any tools out there to guide that rotary cutter to make a leaf shape. And that's where it all started. I wanted to make one shape. I wanted that leaf shape so I could make a beautiful border for an applique quilt. And so I developed the design for the tools with all of these curves stacked one on top of the other so I could cut that leaf shape with a rotary cutter. So I went and bought every curve tool out there on the market and nothing could do what I wanted it to do. So I went to a good friend, Deb Went, who also makes templates. And I said, Deb, can I get a prototype made of this tool? Because I want to cut leaves the easier way. And so she gave me the name of her template manufacturer. I went and got a prototype made. It was for me. I wanted to quilt. I wanted to applique in an easier way. And Leah, I agree. You got to belong to a guild. When my guild saw this tool that I was using at a retreat, they all wanted to figure out what it was. So they came over for me to demonstrate for them, and they all wanted one. So I ordered 100 of these tools so my quilt guild could have them. And that's what started my business. So I've been selling the tools ever since. That was 11 years ago. And my ideas just kept growing. Well, what I found out is that you don't just cut leaf shapes with these tools. When I actually got them at home and started playing with them, you could make all of these different shapes. You can make the leaves and the vines and these beautiful S curves and lemon leaves. There's just so many shapes that you can make with this tool that's where the business grew from. Now, once I got kind of bored after 5 or 6 years with this tool, I knew there were more shapes I wanted to cut, circles and hearts and ovals and teardrops. And that's where I went, was how do I do this in an easier way? So I developed the second tool. So I have my leaves galore originally, the hearts and more came next. And I've just been dreaming of what other shapes do I want? What other quilts do I want to make? And how can I do them my way instead of the old-fashioned way? So my business has just grown out of necessity and of other people wanting to share in that fun way to do applique. So that's my story. That's how I got started in this business. And I truly love teaching. So my business has really morphed into much more teaching than designing quilts, designing patterns, designing the tools. I do all of those things simultaneously, but my real passion is for teaching.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing with us part of that story. What that also brings up in my mind here is you kind of finish, you talk about moving into part of the teaching. And I'm thinking, as our viewers are out here watching as well, and we've talked about how this kind of migrated into a business. Leah, I want to kind of bring a question over to you, and I might use the wrong term in this, because as I think about this question, what I'm looking at, is there a downside to turning your hobby into a business? And I don't know if it ever was a hobby or a start. So tell me a little bit about that, because that might change part of the way you see what you do and you love. So maybe answer the question: is there a downside in turning your hobby into a business?
Yeah, there definitely is. And sewing was really what I got into first. And I started, I was actually sewing with a company kind of on demand. So I would go and pick up garments and I would sew them and I'd drop them off. And that's really where I got started. And I knew quitting that job that I wanted to do something different, but I really, really wanted to run a business where I was working with my hands, where I was, doing something creative. That had always been my goal. And in my spare time, when I wasn't sewing, I was quilting. So getting into quilting, it was an evolution to figure out how to start that business. And I love Sue's story about, she wanted that leaf shape and she made that template in order to make that leaf shape. And I love that because where I was is I wanted more free motion quilting designs. So I knew stippling and I knew McTavishing, and that was it. And so while I was working on a really big quilt, tons and tons of space, stitching at super, super tiny scale, I was like, I'm so bored. I am going to drive myself crazy if I don't get another design, and came up with another design called Flame Stitch. And that started the Free Motion Quilting Project. That was the launch of the Free Motion Quilting Project, gave me the idea that started my blog. And then initially I had this idea that I was going to travel and teach. And I miscalculated that I had a 2-year-old at the time, and there was absolutely no way I was going to travel and teach. And so when I started sharing videos online, it was like, wait a minute, this is perfect. I can just share and be home, and I can continue being a mom and a wife, and this can be, I can do it all, right? And I did it all for 10 years. And this year has been kind of the crucible of figuring out that no, I really can't do it all, and I can't work all the time. And I've had to really, turn that around and to say, what is the most important thing that I need to do today, and to set very clear limits on my working time. Because when you take a hobby and you turn it into a job, what you can do is end up working all the time, so that you're, working, answering customer email and updating your website and making a video. And then in the evening, setting and stitching and sewing and spending lots of time with your sewing machine or your long arm. And that's where I was. And I didn't realize though that all that time was actually work, and it all counted as work. And I really needed to have time to step away. And so starting back in May, my work time became a solid, from 9 a.m. to when my son comes home from school, and that's it, and no work on the weekend. And that means that I'm not quilting as much as I once was. And on that side of it, it is unfortunate, and I do miss it. But it's forcing me to be very restrictive and very clear on what I need to get done. I need to, get a video on this frame made today by the end of the day. And I need to be clear about that. So I'm not spending the whole weekend working and actually in that mentality of work, that I'm able to relax with my family and spend time with them. And it's also the challenge of working from home too. And that is, separating the home and personal side from the work. And we do that by having our working space downstairs. And having that clear, like if we're downstairs, we're working, if we're upstairs, we're not. And we try and keep that separated. But truthfully, the downside of running a successful business with your hobby is that it's no longer your hobby. And so now my hobby is wood turning, and I'm going to get a laser cutter and maybe a 3D printer and kind of playing with kind of some geeky stuff that's very different, that is not work. And I can enjoy those new hobbies and be creative in different ways, and still have business be quilting. And it's hard to think of it in that term, especially if you're a hobby quilter and you love the hobby side of it. But there needs to be some limits on time, and there needs to be downtime too. So I can say burnout can happen, and it can all come crashing down. So be careful with that, and always keep that in mind. Just that you need to have some downtime and some time off and away from the sewing machine and away from sewing.
Thank you. I think that's been an interesting piece to hear a little bit coming from Sue, part of what got you into part of this process, and then how that expands, and for the need for tools, and you're learning, you understand, and then you share that. And Leah, to your same point, everybody, and I like the expanse that we all potentially have a path that we go down, and those paths might have a fork. It might be a couple at a time. And so I just think that's some really great advice. And then also for those, as you're hearing part of this, hopefully there's some inspiration on, hey, if you have a passion about something, that passion can continue to grow and develop, and it might be able to grow and develop into part of what might be a business opportunity. And Leah, even with those things, once you get into that, there's still opportunities to not only be part of what is a business on something you love, but then continue to learn as an individual and finding other hobbies and other great things of passion. Karla, a question I'd like to have you kind of finish up with, and then what I'd like to do after Karla's question is come back one more time, let the audience know how they can get in contact with everybody, and then maybe do a last shout out on anything new that they can expect to be seeing that might be coming up. But Karla, as we kind of ask this question to you, I'd like you to share in it. You've heard a little bit from Sue, and we've heard about a little bit from Leah. You work in the Grace company, and yet you do also an amazing amount of quilting. What do you find is your biggest challenges in keeping part of what is quilting and then part of what is work for us?
Time management. I agree with you, Leah. You could become burned out because I was standing at my quilting frame last night, and I was thinking, oh, this is so much fun. And you can become so engrossed in it that you forget about the time with your family, because you just love it so much, and the time with your spouse, and how to manage your time. It's important for me to learn that. I haven't learned it yet, but I plan on doing it. But I just love it so much, and I love this company so much, and I love the opportunities to find and help develop new products, and all the thoughts and ideas that come out of working in this company. Everybody's trying to come up with new ideas and new ways of quilting. It makes it hard for me to shut my brain down because I enjoy it so much and take time out. But it is so much fun. And I do enjoy quilting. And the process is a learning, and it's evolving all the time. So just know that us as quilters, we constantly have our time and our season. And it may not be your time and season right now, but you may be preparing for that time and season for whatever it is that is your next step in life. And that's kind of my words of advice. Just take it with your time and your season.
Thank you, everybody, for Karla, for that for your participation, your answers, your questions regarding that. We're going to ask our panelists one more time to do part of a shout out, just really quick, as those who are streaming, our streaming audience continues to grow as we're doing this live. Again, welcome if you joined us partly through this event. We have Karla, Jerome, Leah Day, and Sue Pelland here with us. Wonderful, different experiences. We've been able to hear some of their history, some of their passions, some of their desires. Frustrations, concerns, and thank you for everybody in your comments. We love hearing those comments and everybody's participation. We're going to encourage those. With that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go Sue to you first. We'll go to Leah and then we'll finish with Karla. But if we could, Sue, anything new that they can be looking forward to as far as what to be expecting in the near future, and then we'll go ahead and I'll put up on the screen again how they can contact you to find out more information about that.
Absolutely. Sorry, my dog just came to visit for a second. I had my daughter shoo him out. You can reach me at SuePellandDesigns.com. You can follow me on Facebook. I have a group called Rotary Cut Applique with Sue Pelland. That's a great group to join because you hear all about what I'm doing, and I get in there and I answer questions and all of that. So that's the best way to keep in touch with me. I kind of missed part of your question because I was dealing with the dog. Did you ask what's coming new? What's coming next?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything new or next coming up that you can give us a glimpse of?
I love the opportunity to talk about that. With Grace this year, we worked on some new true grips, and they are hearts and leaves true grips. They're heart shape and leaf shape true grips that go on the back of my tools, but really they are the best to go on the back of any tools. What I love about the true grips is they prevent your tools from slipping. So the heart-shaped true grips are directional and you can point at the important points on your tools. So what's new for me, now that we've got these great true grips, because we worked on that this year, that was new. But what's really new for me, and I would have been introducing these at Quilt Market and Festival this week, but my newest templates are rings and things. So the rings and things tools, they look just like those leaves, hearts and more tools, but they are jumbo size. They're really huge. So Nathan, I love that quilt that's hanging behind you. And Karla said she made that quilt. Well, I can cut out circles, 9-inch circles, 7-inch circles, 5-inch circles. I have 12 different sizes of circles between the hearts and more and the leaves galore, and the hearts and more and the rings and things tools. So why are they called rings and things? Because you can cut circles inside circles, hearts inside hearts. You can make rings out of all of these shapes because of the different sizes of the tools. And the jumbo tools are going to be so much fun to do some really modern quilt designs, some big, huge clamshells. That's the first quilt that I made with these. And so that's what's new. Right now, my customers helped me launch these because we didn't go to Quilt Market, because we didn't go to Quilt Festival. Last week, we did a 3-day Facebook Live for my customers, and we did all about rings and things, all about Rotary Cut Applique, and they were able to pre-order the rings and things so that I could get these made. So that's happening right now. The pre-order's already in. You can still pre-order these tools, and they're going to come in 4 to 6 weeks. So that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to get these jumbo tools so I can kind of get out of that more traditional vibe that I've got going on behind me. I do a lot of modern quilts already. You don't see them here, but I'm kind of into that already. And these jumbo tools are going to be so much fun to play with for just a new style of quilt. And Karla, that quilt is so sweet. I love it. I love circles. But it's not just for circles. There's so many other things that you can do. So that's what's coming up. And I also have a whole education series that's coming up. It's a membership, so you join monthly. And in that monthly membership, you get tutorials every couple of weeks. There's going to be video tutorials going out. You have access to a video library of all those quilts that I was showing. Those are samples from the workshops that I give. So the video library is going to be the live workshops. So at any time you can pick up on one of they were live, When they're in the library, you're going to be able to just join in the workshop as if you were there live. And so that membership is something that's brand new to us, and it's pretty exciting. We started it right when COVID hit, which was so wonderful for my students that they could come take a workshop with me every month. They had access to all the educational materials, and we have a very active Facebook group just for members, so that we've really grown in that community. We've really gotten to know each other so well through this pandemic. And quite honestly, it's one of those silver linings of COVID. There just have been so many blessings that have come out of this for me. And Leah, to your point, I was traveling and teaching all the time. I was never home. And you just get caught up in that whirlwind. And I've been doing it for 10 years. And now all of a sudden I'm home. I'm loving it. I'm bringing my customers and my students into my sewing room every week. And we are having so much fun together that I'm never going to go back to that life I had before. So this is one of the blessings of COVID. Here we are, we're doing quilting in a whole new way and engaging our customers. Look at everybody out there in a whole new way, and able to ask, answer their questions, and get to know each other. We've met one time, Leah, at Quilt Market, and over all of these years, we've been parallel lives for the last 11 years, and we've only met once. And here, by the power of technology, here we are together, and this has been so much fun. So I want to say thank you to Grace for having me come out here today. And anybody out there that wants to know more about me, my techniques, my tools, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, but SuePellandDesigns.com, that's really where everything comes together, and you can get to any of those other resources through the website. So thank you so much for letting me share that today.
Thank you very much, Sue. With that, we're going to go ahead and Leah, maybe you can share some of your last thoughts and comments and what people can look forward to here in the near future.
So leahday.com is my site, and I have thousands of videos for you to watch if you are just needing maybe a free motion quilting design inspiration, something like that. You can just go and browse through our library. I think we're upwards over 500 designs of just different tutorials that you can watch there. And then we have years of quilt-alongs. So 5 major quilt-alongs, and these are all quilt as you go. So each block is quilted separately, pieced or appliqued, and then quilted separately. That makes it much smaller and easier to do if you are still quilting on a home machine. And that's how all of these videos were shared. I only recently got into long arm quilting, guys. In 2017 was when I moved my long arm to a frame. And so this has been, very much a learning experience as I've gotten into frame quilting. I've been sharing videos on that as well. And like I said, I kind of had a big turning point in May this year and decided to change my focus to really turn from specifically being an online teacher and kind of a wide range of focus, like piecing and applique and traditional piecing and free motion quilting and ruler quilting, like just such a broad focus, to focusing down on how do I help my customers get the best out of their frames, the best out of their Qnique long arms, the best out of QCT, our computerized quilting system. And so now I'm sharing weekly videos on YouTube. I also update leahday.com. Usually it might be like a product page. So this past week it was sharing a video to the Hoop Frame Pro page just on how to add that attachment. And so every week I'm coming out with a new video, whether it's demonstrating how to quilt on a frame with a home sewing machine or on a long arm, or it's how to build something. It's the step-by-step of, okay, here's how this is going to go together. And, oh, I made that mistake. I didn't put that on right. And I kind of laugh at myself. Sometimes I make those little mistakes, and you might make those mistakes too. And that's how we learn together. And so I'm sharing one video a week now. That is the perfect amount that for me, and most of my day is spent answering customer email, managing orders. I'm taking being a dealer very, very seriously. And my husband is my business partner, and he works with me on this as well. So like today we spent half the day updating the site for the new Continuum 2. And that is, like I said, it's a continually changing, continually evolving process. And I am always learning something new, and I love that challenge. So I'm now focusing more on panels. I'm designing panels for Honest Fabric, and I'm going to be adding more. I only have the one basket weave. That's the orange, the orange quilt there. That's the only one that I have up right this second, but I am going to be adding more. And then what I'm actively working on is this Mally doll pattern. It will include her t-shirt, the doll itself, t-shirt, and then nice pair of pants. And this is an intermediate sewing pattern. It's kind of, you know, in a way, this is kind of a tangent. It's a little geek fest for me. Mally is a character in a fiction quilt fantasy story that I wrote a couple years ago. And so I've had another doll for the book as well, Miss Bunny. And so adding Mally is kind of a fun thing. So she will be out hopefully by Christmas as a digital sewing pattern. And I'll be sharing some videos on YouTube to go along with that. So you'll actually see how everything goes together. Because I find, you know, I can follow a pattern, you know, I can write a pattern. I put a lot of photos in it. I put a lot of time in it to it, but really a video, like you just need to be able to see it, you know, and that's really what I focus on the most. So every week, one video a week, and it's always going to be posted, linked up at leahday.com. So that's where you can come and find me. And then, of course, if you have bought your machine, your Qnique, or your frame from me, always get in touch if you need any help or assistance, or you have any questions or need help troubleshooting.
Thanks. And Karla, I'm going to ask for a quick shout out from you as well. I know we don't have too many things we can share on the what's up and what's new, but I am curious to have you to share with the group what they maybe can be expecting here as we move into the last couple months. We're in November and into December for part of the holiday season. Any other thoughts you'd like to share with the group here as we kind of conclude?
I just want to share one thing. Leah Day was saying RQCT, and Sue Pelland introduced the True Grips, her True Grips, and it is so much fun to be able to embrace both of you as part of our Grace family, because I told you my mom has a lot of kids, and so it's so much fun to have you bring your perspective, your personalities, your ideas to the table, and we at the Grace Company appreciate it so much. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts and what you have contributed to quilting and to education and to, you know, helping all of us out here. And thank you very much. And that's my shout out. We have lots of things going. We're doing webinars, we're doing videos, we're expanding the education big time. So just watch for what's coming at the Grace Company, because there's a lot of exciting things.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to go ahead and we're going to continue streaming. But with that, I would like to say thank you, Sue Pelland. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, Leah Day. And thank you, Karla Jerome, for being part of this event. Thank you, streamers, for being able to be a part of this as well. We're excited about that. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we'll let Sue go and we'll let Leah go. And Karla, we'll let you go for just a minute and then we'll get you back. So with that, thank you, everybody else. Appreciate your participation.
Nice to be with all of you. Thanks for having us.
Goodbye, my quilting friend.